How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Wednesday, Season 1. This, of course, aired on Netflix and came out November 23rd, 2022, and is a modern reboot of the Addams Family franchise created by Charles Addams. This show was created by Alfred Goh and Miles Miller and was produced by Tim Burton. Tim Burton made a ton of great movies. You know, Beetlejuice is an absolute classic, Nightmare Before Christmas, and really, the Addams Family is a great fit for him. Always cool to see Tim Burton doing stuff. Glad Netflix gave him a whole show. Which, yeah, Tim Burton usually does movies. Good transition to full series here. He produced the show. He also himself directed the first 4 episodes. And he brought over his friend, Danny Elfman, to work on the music. That's great, too. Danny Elfman, and the music for Nightmare Before Christmas. Great stuff there. This show stars Jenna Ortega as Wednesday. We also get Gwendolyn Christie, and Christina Ricci is in this show as well as one of the teachers. Christina Ricci was a previous Wednesday Addams on the 2 live-action movies. We also get Catherine Zeta-Jones in here as Morticia. She's only in primarily just 2 episodes, so not the biggest role ever. And we also get Fred Armisen as Uncle Fester. Really, really cool. He comes in and has his own little episode there. Yeah, so he's only in it for 1, but a really fun appearance. You could just do a Fester show as a spin-off if you wanted to. But anyway, a little bit about the plot. No major spoilers, but the setup for this show. We get Wednesday, who, after a violent incident, is sent off to boarding school. Nevermore Academy. In this continuity, that's the boarding school where her parents met, and it's sort of a big old gothic academy for outcast, which might mean monsters. They say outcast, and they say, oh, we're different from humans, yet they say Gomez went there, and I think he's just a regular human, but whatever. In this academy, you get things like werewolves or gorgons that can turn people into stone if they're not careful, or people with a bunch of different other crazy powers and really all over the place monster mash, which is pretty cool. So Wednesday's going there, and she gets, you know, a bubbly roommate with a fun, outgoing personality. She gets an academic rival, and she starts to butt heads around the school. But also, and maybe even more challenging to her, she starts to get people that are really friendly and want to befriend her, and she doesn't really know how to do this. This is teenage angst, older Wednesday, so that will be a large point of the show, is how does she learn to, you know, let people into her life, granted that she's the cool and mysterious one, you know? But anyway, you get all this going on, and there's going to be a monster attacking people all over campus, committing a series of gruesome murders, and they don't know where the monster came from. Is it someone in the school transforming into the monster? What exactly is going on? So there's these attacks, and while working on the mystery, and yeah, this is a pretty big mystery show, she finds out horrible secrets of the town's past. She finds out the history of the school, finds out what happened when her parents went to the school, and what that means, you know, what her parents did and their legacy in the school and how that affects her. You know, even though Gomez and Morticia aren't in the show all the time, you do get a sense of their presence in the episodes as things progress. But there is a big mystery going on, and a prophecy that says Wednesday herself will be responsible for destroying the school. So, yeah, a lot to unpack there. But overall, I found that this show was really, really fun, and I do want to emphasize that. And you see that this is becoming a really successful and popular series on Netflix, and that's a large part because it's fun, it's entertaining, it moves around really good. So many streaming shows these days are super boring, and when I put this one in, it's the Addams Family. I love the Addams Family. It's Tim Burton. Tim Burton made good stuff. It had me intrigued, but, always with streaming shows, I get a little cautious. But, after the first episode, you're really like, okay, I want to know what happens next, And that really is the thing. The mystery does a good amount of keeping you guessing, wanting to learn all the little pieces without getting overly complex and convoluted. All the characters have fun little arcs, and they're not 100% what they seem, and Wednesday's relationship with them, grows over the course of the series, and overall, it's just a really fun series to follow, and yeah, I definitely see why it's becoming a hit. It's got good humor, it's got a sense of gothic style, it's just a really fun show, and yeah, I guess let's talk about style first. This is obviously Tim Burton. No over-the-top crazy Tim Burton style, but you know how, like, with Nightmare Before Christmas, he'd make designs that, like, curve up into tiny points and they'd be highly impractical? It doesn't go that far, but it does have that feel behind it, that whole thing with the school being full of outcasts, that's something Tim Burton has been talking about for a long time, so yeah, this is right up his alley, and it does have that sense of dark whimsy that every one of his movies does have, and just to see that beautiful giant gothic school, I think they actually shot it in Romania, really cool feeling and atmosphere behind it. And the jokes do keep coming as well, a pretty good pacing, and they don't feel out of place. Sometimes people talk about in modern action movies when the action grinds to a halt for the jokes. It doesn't do that. The jokes are fit in very naturally when they come into dialogue. Lots of quick, snappy jokes, and you can see that, it's really an extension of Wednesday's personality crashing with everybody, that these jokes come in naturally. Plus, everyone's familiar with the Addams Family for the, 60s sitcom, so quippy little one-liners do fit in well here. And there's, fun jokes like, come on, Wednesday, take a stab at it. Well, I do like stabbing. Or like, thing steals something. How'd you get that thing? Oh, the 5-finger discount. Fun little jokes like that, and they all work, and they all feel natural, and I really do like that. But also, the characters, like I said, the characters grow, the characters mature, the characters evolve. You get Wednesday, played by Jenna Ortega, and boy, 2022, really good year for Jenna Ortega's career. She started off in Scream in January of this year. Later on, she was in X, and now she's Wednesday from the Addams Family. So we got 3 great Jenna Ortega projects all coming out in 2022. A really good year for her. But they get her look down. They give her the classic braids on each side, and they give her her dark outfit. She says she feels physically allergic to color, so everyone will kind of have a blue outfit, and then she'll be there in her black one, But she gets all the mannerisms down, and this is a character that would be kind of hard. It would be quite easy to make her too stiff or too mean, but when she is stiff or mean, it usually does result in humor, and if she does go too far, the show actually does call her out on that, You get her roommate who's really happy, and even she at points will be like, Wednesday, you're going too far, you're being too mean, can't you just be a little bit nice? So, when she does get really stiff, it defines her character, the show acknowledges it, but it does usually lead to a great bit of humor, and it does a good job of not being too stiff, but leaning into the dark humor, and again, coming out with a ton of jokes. Other big character, the biggest character other than Wednesday from the original Addams Family, is we get a whole lot of Thing running around, and now that CG is so good, we can see a lot of Thing. And I really did like him from the original show. It was always so funny when Thing popped up and did something. But basically, Gomez and Morticia secretly leave him at the school to make sure Wednesday doesn't get into any trouble. And of course, she finds out really quick. But Thing is trying to help her, and they really do give her a personality, you know? You literally have one of your lead characters who's, you know, kind of stuffy, and the other lead character's a hand that can't talk, yet somehow they get so much personality and life out of these two characters. And yeah, the Thing is amazing. You know, they use him just to see him running around the school, a little crawling hand, is a really great visual. But they can do things with him like he can spy on someone or bring a message secretly from one person to the other. A cool little tool like that, you know, for espionage. But, you know, they also do clever things with him, like thinking, okay, how would a hand communicate what he's thinking or feeling, you know? So the animators have to get expression just out of his gestures. But even then, there's also clever things like he can communicate, if you know sign language, he can try to sign off a few things. So that's really cool as well. But, you know, we do get Wednesday and Thing from the original cast. We do get appearances occasionally from the other original cast members. But they also do a really good job with their new characters. Obviously, out of the new characters, the most obvious is the roommate. I think her name is Enid, and she's a werewolf, but she hasn't been able to fully transform yet. Like, every now and then she can pull out her claws, but, you know, it's like a werewolf, but, you know, can't turn, isn't big, gruff, or serious. She's a little bubbly werewolf, and there's this really good visual right at the beginning. Their room has a giant stained glass window in it, and it's all this bright color coming in, and she comes back to find Wednesday has peeled off all the color from her side of the stained glass window, so we get color on one side and then just black and white on the other. And yeah, she's the perfect foil for Wednesday, you know? Someone who can always unintentionally push Wednesday's buttons without it feeling, you know, too obvious or too over the top. This is a character that could quite easily have become annoying, but didn't, and just really served as someone that, you know, Wednesday's gonna have to learn to get along with, but it's not going to be an easy route for the two of them. And yeah, again, watching them change and explore, that's a cool element there. We also get other characters, like there's the former, you know, popular girl at school that kind of becomes Wednesday's academic rival. I see people on the internet oversimplifying her character and saying she's a bully. She really isn't. She's Wednesday's academic rival, and the two kind of compete. And another side of Wednesday's character is just how much life experience she's had given her strange and unusual life. So they challenge each other like at fencing, and they're gonna be pretty evenly matched, you know? But Wednesday is someone that she can't quite be better than too easily, and it's between the two girls who's going to come out on top. But yeah, she isn't really, you know, she's a rival, but she's not really a villain. And we find out over the course of the season more things about her, and she's actually a really good and interesting character that I think, you know, where the two end up at the end of the first season will probably lead to exploring her in a greater detail in season 2, which I would really love, you know, because this whole first season, you kind of need Wednesday to slowly open up to these other characters, but I can see in season 2 them being able to expand upon them now that Wednesday, you know, finally starts to open up a little bit. But in addition to that, we get characters like there's this art student who has the power to make his drawings come to life for a little bit, and he's the mysterious, broody artist that kind of likes her, but Wednesday doesn't know if she can trust him. And then there's like the nice local boy that's the son of the sheriff who works at the coffee shop, and he somehow managed to get closer than anyone else. So yeah, that is also one thing, is there is a mystery here. You know, so when Wednesday's being closed off, it is more excused than if she was just being like this. But with the mystery, you have like the sheriff, you have the mayor, you have the therapist, you have the teachers, you have the principal, and then all the kids, and you don't know who's involved and in what way. And it kind of reminds me of, like, say, Scream, where the mystery is there. It's not something you have to overly rack your brain about, or, oh my gosh, if I miss a clue, I might not know what's going on. It's nothing like that. It's there, it keeps you guessing, and they do a good job at revealing pieces just a little bit at a time, and I felt that was really good, but it's something that's not too overly complex, and yeah, you do kind of get pulled in by this. And yeah, like I said, it does, you know, because Wednesday doesn't naturally open up to too many people, this is also another good excuse for her behavior, where it doesn't seem like she's being too overly standoffish. Yeah, she's not a social butterfly, but also these people might secretly be killers. But yeah, a whole bunch of mystery. The town's past, the parents passed, and I guess with the parents, the other Addams family members. Most of her family, you see in part of episode 1, and then they do like a Parents' Day at the school, and that's where you see a lot more of them. Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia is good. The guy they got to play Gomez is fine, but he really needed more charisma, you know, and the thing is, you look at Gomez from like the 60s show, he was so over the top and happy. He was like the most charismatic guy ever. And I feel that this character, like, when he comes back in season 2, I would love to see him be a little more bubbly. Maybe say that, you know, because sending his daughter away, he was a little flat on energy then, but now he's back to his old self. You know, I'd love to see that change. But also, Gomez and Morticia still love each other. You know, seeing that this is teenage angst Wednesday, I was a little worried that they'd make the family less, you know, family, you know? But Gomez and Morticia, they're still just as in love as they always were, and that is super important, and if they had messed with that, I would have been upset. Uncle Fester, played by Fred Armisen, is in one episode. He's pretty funny. Now, that being said, he does a good character, and, you know, because of the CG, they can use his electricity powers a little more, and he does get those funny laughs. But that being said, you can still see it's Fred Armisen, you know? So that it's not a perfect blend into the role, and it does feel like Fred Armisen playing Uncle Fester, but still, he's fun, and he's silly as he should be. Out of the others, Pugsley, you know, it's a center for Wednesday. You know, Wednesday does really care for her brother, but that being said, Pugsley doesn't have much to do in this show. She's who Wednesday defended when she got sent to the school, and you do kind of worry about him being by himself at home with all the school bullies. But that being said, Pugsley doesn't get much screen time. And another one, Lurch. Lurch looks the part. He's a big guy and they got the look down. But that being said, he barely does anything. He's just there driving the car and moving the bags. Lurch was a really fun character. The way the Addams could be doing something completely ridiculous and he'd just be in the background groaning. I always really liked Lurch, and this new guy, I mean, he does the part right. It's just the show doesn't give him anything to do, so I really do want to see more with Lurch. But that being said, we did get a really good portrayal of Thing. When Fester showed up, he was fun, but that was only an episode. So that is pretty cool, but yeah, this is the Wednesday show. It's not the Addams Family show, so we don't get to see too much of the whole family. But in regards to tone, That's one of the things when I first saw the show is, I was like, okay, that's a little different of a tone. I was most familiar with the 60s, comedy, and, part of me was like, yeah, there was supernatural stuff in the Addams Family, but part of the comedy was whenever anything too crazy would happen, is it'd be treated so casually. But this is a Tim Burton show, so it kind of does like to embrace the fantastical nature of things, and, things like werewolves running around or big crazy magical CGI, that's not really the tone of the old Addams Family. But I did go back and I was looking at, just the history of the show, and I realized that each continuity of the Addams Family does have its own differences. The original Charles Addams comic, then the show, and then you even got like the animated movies and the Christina Ricci movies, and they all had a little bit of their own tone, but you do keep the characters, you do keep the gothic humor. Wednesday is very much Wednesday, but an older teenage angst Wednesday, so, it is different. It is more Tim Burton than the classic 60s show, and I was a little concerned about that going in, the fact that this would, show much more and not be quite as casual as the 60s show, but overall, it is, just an episode to say, okay, this is the new tone, this is what we're going for, it's still Addams Family, So it did take just an episode to adjust, but once you get used to the show's tone, it's totally fine, and especially if you're a Tim Burton fan and you kind of know what to expect, go back and watch Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands if you're not familiar with his style. But yeah, I was a little cautious first episode, but once it got in, once it got rolling, it did suck me in. So I really did like the show, and I did think it was fun. Overall, definitely recommend it. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should probably be my 2022 playlist. If you guys want to see me talk about other 2022 movies and TV shows, in particular horror, you can find them there. And if you're fans of Jenna Ortega, Scream and X will be in there as well. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. 2022 playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.